Hey everyone. So I hope you've been enjoying these videos about how to make melodies and do these Pi Day compositions. I truly want all the students who are participating to do their best. So I wanted to put these out there and share them with you so that you guys have every advantage you guys possibly have. And ultimately the goal of this is to learn more. And so I just wanted to give you a few more tips on melodies in this video. So one of the ways that I like to make melodies up is I like to kind of play around and come up with like a 3 or 4 note idea. And so that's kind of what I did. I actually composed a new composition. It's right here, I believe. Actually, I'm going to pull it up again. It's I did a piano part of that, but let me show you just the melody on this one. And I'll explain how I made it. So it's just for saxophone, and the tone row, let me show you that. Let me click over here. It's right at the bottom here. So here's here's pi, here's the notes, C, F sharp, G, and then it goes back to F sharp because one repeats. Then I go D, G sharp, A. And what this has some symmetry to it. So the notes C and F sharp, they sound like that. And what that is, it's called a tritone or an augmented fourth. And it's a very unique sounding interval. So I kind of like it that way. But then I don't just leave it on the F sharp, I resolve it up to the G. I was showing one of my students this. He said, hey, that's kind of like a West Side Story. And he's actually absolutely right. But of course, because it's Pi Day, I have to go and be a little different with it. So I go back to the F sharp. And then I do another thing. The next 3 notes are similar in shape, but instead of going further out, I do it the opposite way. So I start on D. Instead of going up, I go down that tritone, and then I resolve it up. So I have, and I thought that sounded pretty good. So I kind of went from there, and I went on with the rest of it. There we go, and then that's the ending of it. And so I put it together in a melody, and I wanted to show you a few other little tricks that I use to create really good melodies for this, and because it doesn't all come down to just the notes. There's other things in there as well. First of all, the rhythm. So I came up with my tone row. Second of all, I did some interesting things with the rhythm. One thing that makes music sound a little bit more mature, a little bit more polished, is you don't actually just start on beat 1. One of the things that I encourage all my composition students to do is to play around with what we call the pickup note. And so you can see it in the first measure here. So I put all the rest in, and then the first note actually starts on the and of 4, because I'm using eighth notes on this one. And so there's my note, C, F sharp, G, F sharp. Let's see, can we see the tone row? Let me pull that tone row down so you can still see it underneath. There we go. So yeah, you can see the tone row, and then it keeps on going D, G sharp, A, B, D, C, D, G sharp. And so I wrote it all out, put some rhythm to it. Let me play what I wrote for you. Cool. And so that's what I have so far. Now, if you notice 2 things, I actually repeated the same melody that I wrote in the first 2 measures. This is the whole tone row from the C to the G sharp. And then I did the exact same thing. I always say that if you have a good idea, it's worth repeating. And so I did that, but I made one change. Instead of doing the G sharp up here on the second line of the treble clef staff, I did it way down here, an octave lower, so it sounds a little bit more finished. Then I went on and I used some of the similar ideas, but I changed them up a lot. So, it starts off the same. It's the same pattern of notes, but I just made it go a little bit different. So let's see. It's going to start. Here we go. And that's it. So altogether, that was what, 7, 8, 9, 9 measures. So that fits within the scope of the composition rules and stuff like that. Now, That sounds great, but I wanted to make that a little more jazzy. So here's what I'm going to do. Oops. I'm going to actually select everything, which you can do that with Command A, Command A. And then right here under the tempo, so if you don't have all the things up, you go to the menu, tempo, and you can actually put it into your toolbar up here. So that's what I'm going to do right now. You see, I can adjust it. This is going to be this kind of a bop style melody, like, Charlie Bird, Parker, or something like that. And so I'm going to actually make this pretty fast, 158. Then right here, it says swing eighths when I run up my mouse over it, and I'm going to move it up. It goes all the way to 50%, but I don't actually want 50%. 50% is a little too much for me. So I'm going to go about 40%. Right there. And let's hear it back now. So I sped up the tempo, which is an important part of composition. You have to really consider what tempo you're going to be doing. And then also, in this case, I'm changing the style of the song. And I'm starting with that pickup, so it sounds really good. And here we go. Cool. And so that was the song, and you know what? Even though it's just saxophone, it doesn't have any accompaniment. That would be an excellent example of what you can do, even just with one instrument. So I wrote this for the tenor saxophone, and it was I like the sound of it, and it would be just wonderful. If you do want to add accompaniment, you're free to do that. When you first get to the score, it asks you to choose an instrument, so you would choose saxophone. To add an instrument, what you do is you go up to here where it says Instruments, and click on that, and then you can add an instrument. All kinds of things. You have your bowed strings, that's like your violins and violas and things like that. You have your other woodwinds. You have brass, that's plucked strings, that's like guitars, or mostly guitars, banjo, I guess, in there. You have unpitched percussion, that's like your drum set, and things like that, which would be here and here. They have other ones in there as well. You're free to add that. Pitched percussion would be like a vibraphone or a marimba, technically a piano would be in there as well, and keyboards, you would have your piano in there as well. So you're free to add those things. Like, let's say, for example, let me add a piano here, and let me show you one more thing with this one. I'm going to add it, and then this one works out pretty well, but let's say, for example, the tenor saxophone line is below the piano, like that. Well, that looks kind of funny to me, so I would actually put the piano on the bottom, or the tenor sax on top. And so you can do that, and you can write your accompaniment out, which I'm going to talk about accompaniment in another video, so be sure to watch that. There's lots of ways of doing accompaniment. This one is, this one would be a little tricky to add an accompaniment to, since the style of it is kind of bop, but it could be done. It has to do with chords, and I'll talk about that in another video. So make sure you subscribe to my or like me on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and you'll see all these videos pop up in your feed. If you can, like them, and maybe even comment in the comments below, just any questions you might have, because that helps get the word out about these and just everything that is going on with this. So I hope that helped, and so let me just review the big points. When you're making your tone reel, come up with like the first three notes. That's how you want the song to sound like. Okay, so I'm here at my piano, and I'm just, oh yeah, I like that. You know, it could be anything. Anything. The first three notes kind of set the stage for everything else. Next thing, start with a pickup, so you're not starting just on beat one. Start on the and 4 or beat 4 itself. Make sure you adjust the tempo of the song, as well as you can adjust style if you want to make it swing or something like that as well. So have fun, keep composing, and I'm really excited to hear your finished products. All right, bye-bye for now.